Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is Patron Hangout number, 212. Welcome, everybody who is in the chat room. I'm glad you're here today. And if you'd like to be in the chat room, please do click the link below and join at Patreon. It's $5 a month for 8 shows that are live. And I have one like this during the week, and I have a case show on the weekends, and I always enjoy the input and I enjoy the community, and I think you'll enjoy being part of the community. And if you don't want to do that, because maybe $5 these days is just something you can't give up, do join. Just subscribe to the channel and check my playlist. Okay, hi everybody in the chat room who I haven't said hello to yet. I don't even know how to quite pronounce this. Tazkim. I always love the different names you give yourselves. It's quite amusing. But that one I can't quite figure out. It's like a license plate. You're sitting behind it, you're like, what do those letters actually work out to be? So, which I think are pretty fun, actually. Wait a minute. Harpa says it's only $0.625 per show. Well, heck, it's great. Oh, I forgot to say, if you don't join Patreon, you don't have to worry, because all of my shows go live after the live is done. I'm sorry. Let me say it again. After the live is done, all of my shows go public. So there are no hidden videos. I just don't do that because I just don't like doing that. So everybody can see everything I've ever put out, maybe more than you even want to. But the point of joining the Patreon is to be involved in the live part and to support the channel. Hi, Benny. I'm glad to see you here. Haven't seen you in a while. I always miss you, Benny. So I'm so glad you're here. Oh, look at all this nice German being spoken. Ich war krank deze letzte Woche. Did I just say something rude? Because I actually don't know anything past ich war. So I don't know what Farming Felicity said. Okay. All right. Anyway, let's get to it. I just want to mention a couple things that just for fun in the beginning. I always get these people, every once in a while, somebody says, Pat, I just love your makeup today. And I'm like, it's the same makeup I do all the time. I take all of 5 minutes. I don't know what I'm doing. I suck at it. I can't do hair. I can't do makeup. I just put about enough so I don't look like I've died. And then I put the filter on, which apparently is not doing what it used to do. Like as I get older, I'm like, couldn't they move that filter up further and make me look better? But they don't. So maybe sometimes it's the clothing I wear might reflect in my face. Maybe it's the lighting, but I do the same thing all the time. So I find it amusing if somebody tells me that particular day I did such great makeup. I'm like, no, I didn't. Now, yesterday I did have great makeup. So I have a makeup artist in my neighborhood who was actually a friend of my daughter's, and she's professional. And I always hire her when I'm doing a documentary, because sometimes the documentary people come to my area. Sometimes they come to my house. Yesterday they stayed at the Marriott, and they rented a room in the Marriott to do this documentary that they wanted me in. And they never have makeup people. And I'm like, I got to have some makeup before I do a show like that. I really can't do this. And you don't have a filter. So I have this wonderful woman as a good friend. And so I always request money for my makeup artist. And then I drive to her house. She's got everything set up. I roll in, she does my makeup, and then I get back in the car and I drive over to the hotel. So I probably looked really good yesterday. And I should have done the show yesterday just so you could say, Pat, what great makeup you have. And I would go, yeah, it's true. And I didn't do it. But I should have done it yesterday. I didn't even think of that. But it was a busy week. Yeah. So anyway, if you're wondering what the documentary is, I am not at liberty to say much about that. So it'll be out sometime. Usually I don't see the documentaries when they come out until sometimes they tell me, sometimes they forget to tell me that the documentary is out. I will say it's about a serial killer. That's all I can tell you. Oh, thank you. So I'm going to hear. Wait a minute. You're an artist, not makeup artist though. I can do better with pastels. I'll do my face in pastels one day just for the amusement of it. So yeah, so I think it's going to be a good documentary. But take a photo. I could have done that, but it would have been more fun to come on the show and have everybody wonder why my makeup is suddenly so great. That would have been funny, but I didn't think of it till now. So Yeah. I can't say anything. I signed a contract that basically says shut the hell up because we don't want you blabbing about the show, and then other documentary companies might decide to roll in and try to get a project going on the same thing and beat them out. It's I'm sure they already have it's already been paid for. I mean, the production company obviously has someone who's already bought the production, so it's not like that. But so anyway, so it went well. Everything went well, in spite of the fact I do have a cold, and I was coughing my head off, and so I had to keep drinking stuff and then try to get the words in before I coughed. So that was fun. So anyway, a couple other things just as we get going here. How I spend my time. I went to a rodeo. Yeah, it was really cool. It's in my town. It's really cool and fun thing to go to. And the barrel racing is what my granddaughter is learning to do. So it's fun to watch the barrel races because one day she might do that. And for me, there's a lot of eye candy because I don't know what it is, but I love a man in a cowboy hat. I just find, I don't know. It's like you could have a guy that isn't even good looking, puts a cowboy hat on. I'm like, all right, I'll go home with you. I look at that cowboy hat. I don't know, something about a guy in a cowboy hat. And this is my daughter with a cowboy hat. She was dressed for the occasion to go to the show. And it was great being with her because she was driving her police cruiser. So we didn't have to park in the parking lot. She just pulled up front and was able to park with the police cars. And we just rolled right under the front door. Little advantage there. And then this is the cutest thing. This is a boot. It's a little boot cup. That is the cutest thing ever. A little cowboy boot. I loved it. So anyway, that was a super fun thing to do. So yeah, that's how I feel about top hats. We all have our thing. I don't know what it is. I love her. She dresses we've gone to the show 3 times now. And it's always great. It was 4 hours long, which was really kind of cool because they didn't rush anything. We started at 7:30. The barrel racing with some kids, and it didn't even start till 11. And I was just amazed because you don't see Americans have that kind of patience in things very often, and not be in a rush and everything being fast. So very, very, very good. Really, really neat. So I had a good time. What? Okay, UK Royal Watcher. How are you? Well, it's outside of the crappy cold I have, which everybody says you got to get a COVID test. I'm like, how are you? How ASL? I'm not sure I understand the question. I do not want to teach ASL. I am fluent in American Sign Language, actually Black American Sign Language, but I have not actually practiced or been around deaf people since COVID hit and screwed the profession completely. I haven't been doing anything, and I'm a little rusty. And I always believe a deaf person should teach people if they can, if the students. But I certainly do not want to be an ASL instructor. I don't. No, I don't want to teach. Period. At this point in my life. So no. So. I look like Gene Wilder with a cowboy hat and blazing saddles. Okay, you got me right there, Benny. I'm on my way to England. Well, I'm not to England. Where am I going to? I forgot where I'm going now. Sorry. Oh, sorry. The cough has gotten to me. I didn't mean that, but no, I meant I would row across the ocean. I would do that. So, for sure. But it's so nice to have you back because you always have very smart comments. So I like that. But I do want to address some questions that I've had. I'm not going to say who gave those questions. Oh, before I do that, I just want to show this. I went downtown. Isn't it pretty in DC right now? And this is the Capitol. Isn't that a beautiful picture? It was so peaceful and quiet down there. And this is the other side of the Capitol. So I walked around town with a friend of mine. I spent a lot of time walking in DC. It was very cool. So anyway, to the questions. No, I haven't watched anything with her. I'm just not in the mood. I don't watch trials hardly ever. It just takes too much time. I don't have that kind of time. And I'm not always that interested in some of the things other people find interesting. I've been around this profession for 25 years, so I have a different attitude, shall we say? I do. But I want to answer a couple of these questions. that was sent to me by, and you know who you are. Okay. When is my next book coming out? And that is a good question. I actually have 2 fiction books in the making. I tend to do things like I write the book 2/3 of the way through, and then I get stalled. And then by the time I get back to the book, I have to reread it because I have no idea what I wrote. And one of my books, I had figured out the crime that I had written about, and I had the ending and everything. And now I'm reading it going, I wonder what happened in that crime. And I'm like, now I have to resolve it. And it's not because I've forgotten completely what my whole, what I was going for. So now I have to figure out the crime as though I am actually the reader and not the writer. So, but I have 2 books. One is going to be a standalone book, and one is going to be the beginning, if I have the energy ever in my life, of a series which involves a criminal profiler. It's fiction, like me, with a daughter. I won't say it's like her. I wrote it with a concept of it was the mother and the daughter was going to be involved. And then my daughter read as much as I'd written, and she told me it creeped her out completely because it wasn't really her and it wasn't really me, but it was enough of a little bit of both of us. And she just went, ooh, just creeped her out. But, do I use a ghostwriter? No, it's a perfectly fine question. This book, The Profiler, says with Bob Andelman here. He was a co-writer. Bob has passed away, and it's very sad. And I'm very, he was a really nice guy. Do I believe I needed a co-author? I do not. My agent at the time, Jane Distel of Distel and Goderich, believed that because I was not that well known as far as a writer goes, that bringing him aboard because he worked with other writers would help the book sell. And so whether it did or it didn't, I don't know. But, we just done a lot of interviews, recorded, and most of it sounds just like me. So I don't know that it was necessary. And I lost half of my money. But that's the way things go. The other books I wrote without a co-author. I've never used a co-author again. And I do not believe in ghostwriters. I find ghostwriting fraudulent, because I think when I read a book, I actually prefer to know that the person wrote the freaking book. And I don't want to read a book and then find out that they didn't really write it. And so co-authors, it's in a way, it's a little bit, you just don't really know how much the co-authors put into it as opposed to the main author. So I wasn't happy with that, but so I was required to do that in order to sell the book. But I prefer not to do that. I prefer to write my own books, and come what may. You either like my writing, you don't like my writing. But all my books since I've written on my own. So these 2 fiction books will definitely be just my stuff. And one of the advantages I'm going to have with the fiction books is that now that we can self-publish, I am not a person who writes long books. I'm a person who prefers a much shorter style. And Only the Truth, which is on Amazon for, it is. It's on Amazon and every place else, $2.99. Is, I think, a wonderful story. It's one of my favorite things I've ever written. And it's a psychological mystery about a very poor and uneducated man in the mountains and the woman he loves that turns out to be apparently a killer. And then his journey to find out what the heck is going on, because he cares about her and he just can't understand what happened. And I love that book, but it's a fairly short book. It's what they call a novella, kind of more of the John Steinbeck type of thing, where he wrote some things that were much shorter than one of those, 400, 500 page books. And I just don't like writing that long a book. But when you try to sell to a publisher, they always want at least 200 pages. And I'm like, if I publish myself, I can write shorter books and I make them cheaper, and have people enjoy them without having to be bogged down forever. And I'm okay with that. So that's what I plan to do. So yes, what you can't, of course you can get it in England. Absolutely. Only the Truth is a available on Amazon in England. It's available on Smashwords or Kobo and all kinds of other places. It's available. The only thing you can't get on Amazon in England or in the US is my book on Madeleine McCann, Profile of the Disappearance of Madeleine McCann. You cannot get anywhere on because the McCanns threatened Amazon with a lawsuit and they pulled the book off the market. That's why you can't see this one, Profile of the Disappearance of Madeleine McCann. However, it is available at Barnes & Noble. It's available at all the other places, Apple, Kobo, Smashwords, and you can listen to it for free because I put the audiobook up on my channel. So, and McCann's haven't come after any of the other places or the YouTube. And I think it's because at the time I put it out, Kate had just put out her book, and then my book ended up right underneath it, and it was selling like hotcakes. And the last thing Kate McCann wanted was people to read my analysis of the case. So they got it pulled, and they were successful in doing that. And yeah, so if it had stayed up on Amazon, I would have the book would have been a very big success. I wouldn't say financially because I put it up for $2.99. It's not a long book, so I won't put it up for $10, $20. So I put it up for $2.99, and it would have been a success as far as sales went. As how many I wouldn't have made a lot of money on it, but that wasn't what I did it for. So, but yeah, it's available. So that's but only the truth is not been pulled by anybody. Can't find it on what? I can't find it on Amazon. Wait, only the truth? Okay, I'm gonna help you out. It's absolutely on Amazon. There's no way it's not on Amazon, because I get only the truth is on every Amazon outlet, Australia, wherever, it's everywhere. So just put in put in Pat Brown, go to put any of my books, and you'll see the whole list of books that I have on Amazon. And the only one that's not there is Profile of the Disappearance of Madeleine McCann. So, but these two books, I have had it in the making, and one of them takes place in Hawaii, and I'm going there on New Year's Eve. I'm flying into Oahu, and my book that takes place in Hawaii, I'm going to try to finish while I'm in Hawaii because I'm there, and so we'll see if I get that one done. And then the other one, I want to put the other one out first, so we shall see. And I have a bunch of other books. I have things that are like 2-3 chapters in, and I just get so busy actually doing this kind of thing that I find it very hard to sit down and write. So yeah. What are they afraid of? Well, no, Lisa, there's no reason why the McCanns will want my book on the market, or Gonzalo Amoral's. Those are the two books they've been particularly concerned about. Their child went missing, and they want every book on the market that says their child was abducted. Now, mind you, the books that say Madeleine was abducted have never been removed from the market. The only two books that they were upset about were Gonzalo Amaral and my book. One because he's the detective on the case, and one because I'm a well-known profiler. And both of us say there was no abduction. There's no way in hell they want that information out to the public. I mean, if I were in their shoes, if I were innocent, I wouldn't want it going out to the public. And if I were guilty, I definitely wouldn't want it to go out to the public. Now, there's a ton of stuff on Facebook, Facebook groups, and all this kind of stuff. There's a ton of stuff that there are many people who do not believe Madeleine McCann was abducted. They believe the McCanns were involved. However, they leave those alone because, and I'm going to tell you why, and people don't understand this. When you go to a Facebook page, you are often in a fishbowl. Everybody agrees with you that goes to that site. And so you don't get that much varying opinion. Hold on. That's what I was doing to my interview. It's not as bad as it sounds. I tickle my throat and I can't stop it. But in the fishbowl people, first of all, they tend to block most people who don't believe in what's in the fishbowl. Secondly, the media doesn't give a crap about what's on Facebook. As you can see, the UK media in general, the American media, are all pro McCann not having anything to do with what happened to their daughter. All of them. That's why they would not, after my first appearance on, I was on Montel Williams. He actually talked to me about the case, and he was like, okay, so you're saying that this is what happened. It was a very cool interview. But that was like the last interview. And Nancy Grace did so many stories on Madeleine McCann. And in spite of the fact I was her regular, she never had me on. Why? Because I was going to bring up the lack of abduction. And that was not permitted. So the UK media, the US media, most of the media are all in the camp of the McCanns. So they don't care that there's a bunch of people out there, crazy people, conspiracy theorists, putting out garbage. They don't care about all of those. But what they did care about were two people who had some level of professional, enough professional background, enough. I'm looking for the proper word for this. Enough believability for people regular people, if they heard what Gonzalo Amaral had to say, might say, my God, this is a detective on the case. He has, I see what he's saying. Criminal profiler Pat Brown, she's a criminal profile. She's on television all the time in the US. If she says this thing, there might be some validity to it. They couldn't just call Gonzalo Amaral and myself conspiracy theorists. I mean, they can try, but it doesn't go over very well. So they wanted our books off the market, period, because we were the biggest threat to the story by professionals that existed. And that's why it was done. So, but because when my book was removed off of Amazon, they didn't bother to do all the other work of getting it off of all the other places because it doesn't have the impact of Amazon. Amazon is where you sell your books. All the other places you sell a few books. Amazon, you sell a whole bunch of books. And that's where the power is. And they knew that. So they only focused on Amazon in the case of my book. So that's how it works. So, yeah. They weren't going to, no. I do not blame Amazon. A lot of people ask me about that. I do not blame Amazon for pulling my book. Why? Here's a self-published book. They weren't making a crap load of money off of it. They print it. See, when you do self-publishing, Amazon is the publisher, but they don't even pay attention to what is being published. So if they're threatened, they don't. Their legal team has never vetted my book. Now the profiler was vetted by a legal team because they want to make sure that everything that was in that book they weren't going to get sued over. But Amazon is not vetting every book that comes out there. They're just printing it, essentially. So when you get a book that somebody's threatening you, hey, we're going to sue you on, they don't make enough money off that crappy book to pay the lawyers. So they're like, yeah, we'll pull it. Because they're really a bookstore, printer bookstore. If I were in their shoes, I'd do exactly the same thing. Absolutely. What they didn't do, the McCanns, was sue me for libel. So that's interesting. So anyway, speaking of the McCanns, since we're talking about the McCanns, I'll pop that in here right now. So there's a couple things happening in the McCann case, or are really not happening, but you know how that goes. Okay, let me find the couple stories which amuse me in a annoyed way. All right, this is coming out from the Britain's news channel, the GBI. Madeleine McCann investigation takes a fresh turn as British police make urgent requests following release of prime suspect, Christian Bruckner. Okay, so Christian Bruckner's out and about. The investigation into the disappearance of Madeleine McCann has taken a new turn as British police are said to have requested key files. Met police officers are expected to travel to Germany soon, where it is said they will also be able to speak to witnesses related to the case. It comes after the case prime suspect Christian Bruckner was released from prison last week. German national Bruckner has spent 7 years behind bars for the unrelated rape of an elderly woman about my age in 2005. God, I hate the elderly term. According to The Sun, who you can always believe, a police source in Germany said, "We're expecting Met officers could ask to come any time now." Okay. They could ask to come anytime. They have requested all the permissions they need to look into full case files and access any translations. They will also have the ability to speak with all the witnesses. The German people have the German prosecutor and his band of I was going to say thieves, but that's not quite accurate. His band of want to break the case wide open and be the heroes have already spoken to all these witnesses. They already have they Operation Grange already knows everything basically that the Germans have, which is pretty much zero, except for some flaky people saying some things. The reason they cannot arrest Christian Bruckner is because they have zero evidence. It's that simple fact. They have zero evidence. Zero. Really, really zero. And it's funny because I'm going to talk about another case recently, where somebody just brought up in the chat room, in the patron chat. If you were a patron, you would have been there and saw it. We're going to be talking about that case. A woman who was accused of killing her son and convicted and then let go. And one of the claims was there wasn't proper evidence. But there was pretty good evidence in that case compared to Christian Bruckner, which literally is nothing. So it's just fascinating that now we have this supposed, we're going to have this flurry of now that he's out, the UK is going to roll on him, even though they haven't been terribly supportive of saying Christian Bruckner is a suspect at all. But I guess they can't keep getting that money coming in every year, and it's really hard to even understand what the heck is going on with Operation Grange and the millions they have spent doing absolutely nothing useful in the Madeleine McCann case and refusing to actually look at the evidence. So very frustrating, but there they are again saying stuff. Now, one of the interesting things I have found about this whole thing, I want to see if anybody else comes up with this. What is the one thing you notice about Christian Bruckner? The Germans have said Christian Bruckner is the guy who abducted, raped, and murdered Madeleine McCann. They put it out there. This scummy guy. I mean, he's a sadistic sexual psychopath. Who are the people that have never, ever stepped forward to talk about Christian Bruckner? Who are those people? Do tell me. Yeah, this is true. I'm sure the UK could do something better with their money on better causes. Absolutely. They're scapegoating him, yeah, basically, to justify it. I agree with that. Talk about beating a dead horse. No kidding. There we go. The McCanns. I find this extremely, yep, you got it right. I find this very odd. Knowing parents of murdered children, having dealt with them, when they come up, they go crazy on suspects that are even good suspects. But when it comes up that there is somebody that the police absolutely believe is the guy, you would think now, and I find it very interesting, you would think they would be so enraged. They're now looking at the face, the man who most likely raped and murdered their child. His face is the last face Madeleine McCann would have seen if he is the guy. He took their child away from their family. He tortured her. He put them through hell for almost 2 decades now. If I were in their place and believed that, I would be beyond enraged. I would be on the media looking him in the face and saying, Christian Bruckner. No, and I'm not saying that he would admit anything, but as a parent, I would probably be foolish enough to believe he would. If you need to come clean. You need to tell us what happened to our child. You need to tell us where our child is. You'd be all over that like every hour of the day on every media outlet possible. But they're not. They're not. And either they think it's not him, which why would they think that? Because if their child was abducted, he's a good suspect. I mean, if Madeleine McCann was abducted, a sex predator like him right in the area, I would be looking at him too. I have no objection to him being a suspect in the case were the evidence to support an abduction. And I know that, they've been doing this for years, but I haven't seen parents, they won't give up ever as far as finding the person who did this. Now, they kept coming out saying, we want you to find the person who killed our child. Now they got this person, which Germany believes killed their child, and they have nothing to say. Why? I find that just extremely odd. And I think what's happened, and people wonder about this, I think what's happened is they played the game long enough where they're going to let everybody else kick the ball to the finish line. If they believe enough people are talking about it and putting out Christian Bruckner out there, they're perfectly satisfied that they can now keep on with their lives and not have to constantly be in front of the camera, essentially possibly acting. I think that's why they're just not bothering. But that would be, in my opinion, because they know Christian Bruckner isn't guilty, and they know there was no abduction. That's my personal take on it. But it's just interesting. Tetrafin, I don't know how you missed the chat. Is every week there's a chat. Monday or Tuesday, I put up the link. It comes into your messages, and it says Patron chat, whatever, and you go into the Patron chat, and you can just chat. I usually ask about the case that's just been on. What do you think about the case? And then any requests you have for the Hangout. So it should come into your messages just like these. If you get this, it should come into your messages just the same. By the way, I want to ask this question. So I want to get back to the Madeleine McCann thing, but just in case I forget to do this, I got a contact finally from Patreon because of the double messaging thing where everybody gets 2 messages every freaking thing. And they've been silent for weeks. And I'm like, what's going on? And finally, they contacted me last night on email and said, we're working on it. The engineers are on it. Let us know if there's any changes. And today, somebody said they only got 1 message. I want to ask all of you, did you get 1 message or did you get 2 messages? Because if you got 1 message, they finally fixed it after 2 months. Well, while I'm waiting on that, the McCanns continue the myth that their daughter is alive, so they aren't interested in possible killer. True. That's what it feels like. You got 1 message. One. Happy day. It's been. Oh, they finally fixed it. Oh, I'm so excited. I felt so bad about that because everybody was complaining. It's like every time you send a message, I got 2 of the stupid suckers, And I contacted Patreon a long time ago, and I had to ask people what just all kinds of questions. You guys are very good answering about how you get what email you use and all that stuff. And they were trying, I think, to originally blame it on somebody's personal email server, but turned out that everybody had the problem. So I think they finally got the message and they figured it out. Oh, this is so good. You've never gotten messages about Patreon chats? How is that possible? I don't. You should be getting it in an email. So what happens is, for all my shows, I send a message out. It goes to everybody. It's a bulk message. Obviously, I can't do that to each person. And then for the patron chat, which is I usually put out Monday or Tuesday. It's just a simple thing that says, "What did you think about the recent show? Do you want to talk about it?" And send any requests for the Hangout. And it goes out as a bulk message. So if you're on that bulk message, and you're getting the show links, you should be getting the chat links as well. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, check again your settings, and if you're still having the problem and you can't figure it out, email me. And I don't know. Gosh, I hope that's not true because theoretically it should work the same for everybody. So, well, thank you for letting me know there's 1 now. So I think they solved the problem. Whew. Okay, so as far as the mechanics go, yeah. Yeah, that's problematic. I want to answer a couple more questions that came in, which I thought were good. It's fun to get these questions because most people don't give me these questions, and I say it's this is about the news and it's about any questions. The other question was, have you ever visited a crime scene? And the answer to that is not in my line of work because profilers don't go to crime scenes. We're brought in later, basically as a cold case. So no. Have I seen a crime scene? Yes. When I was in Jamaica, I was visiting, and a man came up to our table that I was having dinner with a gentleman, and he said hello to the gentleman. He was dressed in a suit, and he was another businessman who knew the man. And he said, well, I was introduced to him, and then he said goodbye, walked out the door, and we heard gunshots go off, and he was dead in the parking lot. So turned out his girlfriend's boyfriend, no, or his secretary's boyfriend killed him, something like that. But it was the only crime scene I've ever seen, and it's still in my head. It's pretty horrific when you see crime scenes. I see crime scenes usually in photos, and I'm used to that. But seeing the guy lying in a parking lot, blood all around him, yeah, not pleasant. And therefore, I have a lot of appreciation for the police officers, detectives who actually have to see the crime scene. It's not what people think. When you're there in reality, it's a whole different thing. And they also asked, my son wants to be a crime scene cleaner. What is needed to do a crime scene cleaner job? Well, it's pretty well paid as far as I know. And since I don't even clean my house, I hire people because I hate cleaning. It wouldn't be the job for me. But if you want to know, I want to recommend a movie for you guys. I love this movie. The movie is this. It's Curdled. It comes out of Quentin Tarantino's. I don't think he made it personally, but one of his students, or he helped with it somehow. But it's a Quentin Tarantino production. It's called Curdled, and this is I think she's from Mexico, and I'm going to watch this again. You can rent it on YouTube for like $1.99 or whatever. And she takes this job as a murder scene cleaner. And the guy asked her if she's a gore freak, because sometimes that's what people want to clean these scenes for, because they're gore freaks. And she says, no, but she's fascinated by the crime she's cleaning up. And so she's doing like a detective, which she's doing crime scene analysis. She's going, okay, the woman was here when she was stabbed. And then it's kind of a comedy, shall we say. It's very funny. I love that movie. I mean, I have to go back on. Now I'm going to have to watch it tonight because I thought it was pretty funny. So check out Curdle. It's one of my favorites. And a couple other questions you asked. So would I join a panel on a YouTube channel? No, I'm done with panel work. I first of all, I've done panels in TV. I don't like them because they set people up to attack each other, and it just annoys me because I don't think people aren't truly interested in discussing the case as much as they are being right and putting the other person down. And I don't like that. And two, I will not go to another YouTube channel because they don't pay me. And I go to their channel to sit on their panel so they can make money, but they don't want to pay the people on their panel. And I object to that. I think if I will only do that in a rare circumstance where if for some particular reason, same reason for television. If you don't pay me for television, I don't do television. But there have been a few times when I have gone on television for a particular case. Like the case of the woman who was murdered in Maryland, which I did a profile for the family. I did a bunch of media for them because I wanted the profile out there to help find the man that killed her. Occasionally, on a rare occasion, with somebody I truly respect, like Mark Sanokonoko, who did the thing on the Australian journalist, did the stuff on Madeleine McCann. Fabulous. If you haven't seen watched his or listened to his podcast on Madeleine McCann, you should do that. Mark Sanokonoko is amazing. He's one of the rare journalists I trust. So occasionally I'll do it when I feel their heart is in the right place. But other than that, you want me to come on your show and you want to make money off of my appearance, but you don't want to pay me. I'm like, yeah, no, sorry, no. So I find that kind of annoying. So I do not do other YouTube channels. I do mine because I can do what I want here. I don't have to have issues where I don't control it, and you're not paying me, and so I prefer to just stick with my own channel. So no, I don't do that anymore. And then you ask, you'd love to see me and Peter together. You must have missed the news. Peter passed away, and it's one of the most heartbreaking things. He is a great guy, and he did analysis of the Madeleine McCann case, and he did analysis of other cases, and we knew each other from way back, not from a distance, mind you. I wasn't like he lived far away, but we connected over the internet, and we had a lot of it. We usually agreed on almost everything, not everything, but almost everything. So it was a huge loss to anybody who wanted. Sorry again. Anybody who wanted to understand statement analysis, Peter Hyatt. Yeah, I was so upset. It's like, it was like, I forgot how old Peter was. Like 60, maybe 50 something. I know he was younger than me, and he had incurable cancer, and he knew it was lethal, and he knew he didn't have long. What a nice guy. I mean, here was a guy who was ethical, smart, willing to speak the truth, even if it hurt him, and a great guy to his family. He's one of those rare people I met in life, which makes me cry. Just sorry. I like Peter a lot. So, what a loss. This sucks. Thank you. Thank you for that info. Oh, he looks so much younger than 66. He was doing better than me in the looks department. Just so upsetting. It's the people you want to be around for. You want those people to be around for years, because in this world of analysis, I just don't find as many people as I'd like that I'm like, oh, I like the way they analyze, and I like their manner, and I like their honesty. That combo you don't run into too often, and Peter Hyatt was that entire package. That's what I have to say about Peter. So yeah, sucks. That's a great idea, Christoph. Download all his videos in case his channel gets closed. Yeah. So I'm not familiar with Steve Johnson. I don't know who that is. One of the things I liked about Peter was he does more in detail statement analysis than I do. I do what I call red flag analysis. I look for the major things. He goes into more detail. But one of the things I disagreed with a few things here and there, but one of the things I always appreciated was he wasn't like some of these behavior panel stuff, which a lot of times I just think is kind of like a lot of profiling, which is just like, I think that the guy, it's like you're just making up crap, out of your own profiler mind or your own behavior analysis mind. I want you to look at the evidence, and I want you to stick with that, and not get your emotions involved, or just because you don't like the person or whatever. Somebody told me the other day that they saw, I think, a behavior panel. I don't know if the behavior panel or a behavior panel on Casey Anthony, and they were like so amazed by it. I'm like, pretty much everybody knows what Casey Anthony is about, so it's like not that hard anyway. But then, is it because you know what she's about that you analyze her in the way that you expect her to be? So I don't know. I'm just not. I'll throw over that. So anyway, so what the heck is that? Oh, sorry. He trained with, really? Steve Johnson trained with, interesting. I'll have to check him out. Deception Detective has done a pretty good job. Some people's objection with Deception Detective is that he's a very good businessman, and he hasn't given his real name. I happen to, for a good part of me, enjoy Deception Detective's work. He is willing to be out front, and he has stood on the side of the McCann's. Madeleine McCann wasn't abducted, and I've gotten along well with him, and he's been very nice to me, and I like him. But some people think that he's a bit of more of a salesman, because he's a freaking good salesman. He knows how to sell his product, and he's an estate. People love stuff about lies, so his channel surpassed mine like in a heartbeat. Absolutely. He's got like 166,000 people in way shorter time. I've been out here way longer than him, like 2 to 3 times as long. And within like a year, he's already at 166,000. I'm slowly moving along. And he probably, and I see his videos make probably 5 times the income mine make. So, but he is good at what he did. I'm saying he is a good businessman. There's no question about that. He's slick. He knows how to put things together. He knows how to get the advertisements up. He's good at what he does business-wise. I suck at business. It's just a fact. I can't blame another person for being good at what they're good at. You know what I mean? So I know. Am I jealous that he's doing so much better than me? Do I wish I could have some of the level of stuff he has? Sure, but he puts the effort in and has the ability to do something I do not. And that's the way life is. So I don't have an issue with that. Bully for him, you know what I mean? And the reason I say that is because I haven't found I haven't had an issue with anything he has said. And I think most of his stuff is pretty darn good. And I enjoy the way he presents it. I know why people like his channel, and I don't have an issue with that. And he also, I have to say, he came out and done some very interesting stuff with Bert Stellender, which is fascinating to me because Bert Stellender came out with his book. And by the way, his book is doing better than my Madeleine book has ever done. And he's charging a huge amount of money for it. So he's making good money off of his book. And he got huge publicity. And so, but Deception Detective is willing to go out there and say he is able to pinpoint where Bert Stellender is not being truthful. And I agree with Deception Detective. Absolutely. I do not trust Bert Stellender, and I do not agree with his theory. And I do not believe he has any videos of the McCanns visiting a gravesite of Madeleine. I think that's all bogus and fraudulent, and he will not give up the evidence. And until he gives up the evidence, I say to Bert, if you can't show what you've got, you don't got it, and you're a liar. And that's what I think. And I recently, if you haven't seen it yet, I think I forgot to put it up. Hold on a second. I put up this was the recent video I did. Hold on, I think I. Okay, I can't find it. I did a video recently on the ITV series, the ITV documentary on searching for Madeleine, the search for the prime suspect. So check that out. I'll try to remember to link it below. And apparently he watched that, and he sent me an email, which I will not. I put it in. I put it in the file called Haters and Nuts, and he basically says this, just in the beginning, I'm not going to read most of it. Hi, Pat. I have to say, I'm surprised you still argue that Smith man is the most important clue because the Macs ignored it. Blah, 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 blah. You claim to focus on evidence that you ignore profiler red flags, blah, 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 blah. And then he said, let's see. It amazes me that you haven't actually looked deeply into this, blah, 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 blah. You have a major flaw in your logics, blah, 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 blah. The worst thing you did to me, besides doing a review without reading the book properly, I did read the book properly. It was very long. Was to misrepresent the conspiracy I don't mention in my book, blah, 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 blah. I understand your pride and your refreshed book issue. I'm trying to sell my book. That's his big thing. Believe me, $2.99 a book. I'm not making. I mean, maybe if I sell enough books this month, I might be able to buy myself some French fries. Shame it turned out this way. I was very nice to you, and you were the opposite to me. Amaral went into the same Smith tunnel, but that tunnel has always been dark, so dark that neither found an exit. Best wishes still. Yeah, burn. Okay. In the beginning, I always said, he seemed friendly enough. I go have a beer with him. At this point, I wouldn't have a beer with him. Let me put it that way. He's got issues, and Deception Detective points them out. Yes, he does. And so I like the Deception Detective. I do. So I think he's got a lot of good stuff to share with us. And so, who wrote this? Bert Stellender wrote a book called The Sudden Impulse. He got a major talk show, got huge publicity, and he claims he had video cameras up in Praia de Luz catching the McCanns visiting the gravesite. And the book is like 400 some pages, 500 pages. I was the one actually told him to put it on Amazon, which is where he's making his money. So I mean, I should get a fee for for like an agent's fee for telling him to put it up there. So I helped him out. Apparently, I wasn't nice to him. Anyway, oh, bug off. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So it amuses me more than anything else. Thank you. I like Peter's personality too and his analyses. Yes, I absolutely did. So anyway, that was yeah. So that's what happened. Oh, and I want to answer one other question that I had before I go on to rest of the news. It's a little different today, only because I've got these great questions. So the other question is this, and it's an important question that I talk about quite often. And the question is, hold on a second. Where is it? Ah, okay, wait a minute, it's here. No, it's not here. It's here. Okay. The question is this. I have a question about motives and the act of killing. Can you tell me what type of motive it would be with this scenario? And person said, I just put in random names, so it's not real names. A lady named Sue had information about a guy named Tom. Tom is doing some very illegal things with his associates. Sue had turned some of Tom's associates into the police for a robbery they did. Tom found out Sue was the one who reported his associates and felt she was, quote, trouble. Tom was concerned that Sue would submit information about him and carries out a way to kill her to protect his illegal businesses and reputation. Would the motive be revenge or fear or both? And this is what I always say about motive. When you get to a point where people are murdering other people, you're dealing with psychopathy. A psychopath has motives that we don't necessarily understand or motives that he doesn't understand. He may have multiple motives. And as a matter of fact, we as human beings have multiple motives. Just it doesn't even know to be a psychopath for that. Let's say you decide, I don't know, I'm going to pick something simple. Anything you decide can often be multiple motives. I'm trying to think of a good example now. Why am I going to Hawaii this winter? One, I hate winter. Okay, that's a motive right there. I don't like to be cold, and I want to go away to someplace that's warm. Two, I love Hawaii. All right. Three, I've always wanted to go away for a winter and see whether I would be okay living someplace else for 3 months out of my life. You know, away from my family, away from my home. Will I be okay living someplace else, completely strange, by myself for 3 months, or will I lose my mind? That's another motive. There's already three. Which one is it? Well, it's all three. And do I even know which is the most important motive, which is not the most important? Do I even know? No. And so here's a guy. Obviously, he's a criminal because he says, okay, so he's doing illegal things with his associates. The guy's a criminal. She reported the robbery, which I did, which is a criminal act. He found out she reported him and felt she was trouble. Well, hell, yes, she was trouble. She ratted him out. She's a snitch. He thought she would submit information about him. Well, heck yeah, she's a snitch. How does he know that she's not good? She ratted out his accomplices, but not him. Next on the block would be him. So would he want to eliminate her so she couldn't snitch on him? Sure. Or what about revenge? Well, why not? The woman's a snitch. So does he have a fear that she's going to rat him out? Yes. Does he also not like the fact she's a rat? Yeah. Both motives are excellent. Maybe he also thinks it'll be fun to kill her just because it's fun. Like serial kills a lot of times, it's just fun. So you could sit here. This is one of the things I have a problem with trying to provide motive in court. What was the motive? Well, you're not in their head. You will never actually know their, quote, exact motive. And they may not know their exact motive, or they may have 5 all intertwined. So I never liked the concept of motive having to be a huge part of a case. And they like to have it because it somehow supports that this person would do what they did. And if you can't come up with what seems like a reasonable motive, then you say maybe the person wouldn't have done such a thing. Maybe it's all a big lie. They didn't do it. So the prosecution always loves to have a motive, and the defense always likes to tear down a motive, saying it's not there's no proof of that. But that's the problem. It's inside the head of the person, and we'll never know it. That's one of the reasons I have this issue about mass murderers. So rarely do I do stuff on mass murderers, because people always want to get into what is the motive. Well, in my opinion, the major motive is that he wants his day in the sun. That's what makes him feel important. but he may give them another motive, like I didn't like the person, or I didn't like his politics, or I didn't like black people, I didn't like white people. He may give whatever, or they bullied me in high school. Whatever the heck he's going to say is never necessarily true. So that's the problem. You can't, there's no way to prove a motive. You can just guess a motive. And so, in my opinion, if a crime is a crime, it's crime. I don't really give a crap what your motive is. You did something illegal. You knew it was illegal. You broke the law in committing the crime. Therefore, I'm good. But let's say in a court of law, they seem to love motive. So that's problematic. In Hawaii, in the footsteps of Magnum and Higgins. This is a funny thing. You mentioned this, Christoph. I tried to watch the original one with Tom Selleck, and I did not like it. I know it's a travesty to say that. And I watched the new one, and I love it. I've already watched the entire series of the new Magnum PI, and I am rewatching it because, first of all, they show Hawaii in all its beauty. They show the culture of Hawaii, and they have just wonderful camaraderie. So I absolutely love it. I watch it just for that's my just happy place. Because I just, a minute at the start, I go, oh, I'm in Hawaii. So yeah, that's what I always tell people. You're not in my head. Well, that's true. Finding reasonable motives would make more sense for non-psychopaths in theory. But, we're all complicated people, and we all have. Why did that person cheat on their spouse? It's often asked, why would they do that? Well, and of course, a lot of times you'll hear from the person who's cheating, it's because we've grown apart. It's because she doesn't give me good enough sex. It's because she's a bitch. It's whatever it is. That's from the guy's point of view. From the woman's point of view, same thing, but bastardry in the place of it. And that they have their excuses. But is that true? I mean, if you get in a court of law and a divorce thing, they'll put these things out there. But is it true? And speaking of that, I'll go to this case. I saw this on the internet. Allow this 11-year-old to stay with her mother. Okay, and this is a case that's in court. At least it's attempting to be in court. This is obviously a petition. This is a petition. She's also got she's looking for money to pay for the court action. But listen, this is what I want you to hear. Okay, so Suki, this is the little girl, is an emotionally mature 11-year-old, yet has repeatedly expressed the fact that she will take her own life if forced to live with her father. Utah Family Court is not listening to Suki. Instead, they are threatening Suki's mother with jail time if she does not force her child to go. Evidence from therapists and other professionals has been presented to the court on several occasions and has been ignored. A CPS case which was opened by Suki's therapist was closed without even speaking to Suki concerning the allegations against her father. Suki's mother has always been Suki's primary caregiver her entire life. Suki has lived with her mother her entire life. Suki's mother has no criminal charges and no issues with drug or alcohol. Suki's mother simply wants what is best for her daughter, who has lived with her since birth. The only charge against her mother is, and what do you think the charge against the mother is? What do you think it is? One charge against the mother, and this is what came to my mind like in 3 seconds flat. That's a simple version. Bad mouthing dad. What's the legal termination? Well, there is not actually child abuse. No. The only charge against the mother was not, she did not hurt her child, did not do anything to her child. Bad mouthing. No. Not letting her see her dad. Bad mouthing her dad is correct. What is the terminology for that? I'm gonna write it down here. Parental alienation. Oh, Lisa S. just came up at the same time. Parental alienation. Yes. This is an interesting problem. So what you have here is a child who is claiming over time that her father strangled her when she was at his house, and she's terrified of going back. I don't know what's going on in the court system. I do not. I don't know what is true and what isn't true. And this is one of the important things. Parental alienation is often something, when I was thinking about motive, what is the motive behind parental alienation? It's basically to prevent the other partner having any interaction with the child, to keep them out of your life for whatever reasons. And a lot of times parental alienation comes from what else? Somebody else tell me what parental alienation often comes from, especially from a female perspective. What do you think would be another term that would come along with parental alienation? What do you think? Psychopathy, okay. And what kind of psychopathy? Well, it is character assassination, essentially. Power struggle, yes. What is the thing I often talk about with females as a behavior of psychopathy? Thank you very much. There we go. Munchausen's. All right. Munchausen's. So Munchausen's syndrome by proxy in this case would be where you do things with your child to use your child to get attention. And it can be by making your child sick. It can be claiming your child has suffered things that they have never suffered. And it can be parental alienation, where you say, and there's been some really creepy cases where the child has been coached to say, this is what happened at daddy's. And now, I'm not saying this is true in this case. In theory, because I don't know the case, it could be that, what's her name? Suki could be telling the truth. And this is where the court ends up in a very bad situation. If Suki is telling the truth, that her dad tried to strangle her and she's terrified of him, how can you let a child go back into such a place where she might be killed by the father? How do you allow that? But on the other hand, if it's parental alienation and the mother is just helping the child make up a story, then the father is denied the right to ever know his daughter because the mother is a psychopath. See, it's an interesting dilemma. It really is a terribly interesting dilemma. And I don't have an answer to this at this point. It's in the family court system. But what you will read, which is interesting, is that this is one thing I want to point out. When people read this kind of thing, they automatically jump to a conclusion that the mother, the child, are victims. And the hatred going out publicly. Oh my God, what's happening to these people? This horrible man, the horrible court system. And sometimes the court system is horrible. And sometimes the father is horrible. The problem is we don't have a clue. And what's sad about social media is that this kind of, if it's not true, and she is doing parental alienation and it is Munchausen syndrome by proxy, she's playing on the emotions of the public. And then the public comes out and signs. The change.org is up to 1,799 signatures. And I want you to tell me, out of the 1,799 signatures, how many of those people actually know the facts of the case? Can you tell me? No, that know the facts of the case. Probably zero. Exactly. This is the problem. And unfortunately, what happens is it's the same reason that certain court cases go a certain way, where they try to get guilty people out of prison, because they can rile up the public to be angry about something they don't actually know. Cauliflower says, leave 4 people know. Do they? Oh, 1, she must have signed. That's a good way to put it. But, I don't know. She could be totally innocent or not. And that's the problem. Let me go to another case that just happened. And this is just an interesting, weird case. I want you to understand, I'm looking at the fact that we don't know the facts. And this is so important when you're going to analyze anything. Before you jump to conclusions, do you freaking know the facts? Okay, so this one, Hold on a second. I got to find it. Okay. There was a place in Texas called the Afro Steakhouse. Interesting name. I'm assuming it says it's Afro. I think it's actually African. I think it might be Nigerian. I'm not sure. Wait a minute, I should look up. I want to see what they cook. Hold on a second. I didn't look this up yet. I'm going to look this up because I happen to love Nigerian food, and we have a Nigerian food truck that's at the mall, that's the town center right now. Holy crap, their food's good. They have a thing called suya, which is spicy, either it's like beef or chicken or shrimp. It's to die for. And then they make chicken wings, so they're just great. It'll really ruin a vegetarian. Okay, Afro Steakhouse. I got to know what they serve. Okay, here it is. I didn't look this up before the show. I should have. Okay, I want the menu. They have one in Minneapolis too. The hell? Okay, what the heck is going on here? Sorry, I'm having an issue with Okay, Afro Steakhouse. I'm looking for their. Oh boy, these guys. You know, where you go to the website. Their website is now non-existent to find because people are complaining about the place. So they're getting screwed completely. They may lose their whole business over this. Okay, Yelp has one. Okay, what do they have there? I want to know. Okay, I want to know the. Oh, they are Indian. I mean, sorry, they're Nigerian for sure. They have suya, suya toast. Oh, that'd be tasty. Okay, they got website menu. They got jollof rice, which is Nigerian. See you later. Okay, they can't find the server. Okay, full menu. I want the full menu. Okay, they got steak familia, which is a type of steak, which sounds like Spanish to me, but okay. They got faya suya, which is the beef with spice. That's what I have on the food truck there. Goat meat. All right. Fried chicken wings, chicken, shrimp, lobster, goat pepper soup, catfish pepper. So they're Nigerian with maybe a little bit of a fusion thingy going here. Is it cheap? No, everything runs about $20. Regular meals run about $25. Holy crap, the lobster's $58. All right. Anyway, they are a Nigerian restaurant with a fusion steak, some other stuff. Now, what happened at this restaurant? So here's what happened. This guy. All right. So his name is Jessie Mobley Jr. He died at this restaurant. And what happened was he came in and he's eating, and then he passed out, went to sleep, was not. Basically this. What happened here, let me read you the thing about this. Hold on a second. Where'd it go? All right. From the New York Post. Texas man died outside the steakhouse after staff assumed he was sleeping, a sleeping homeless man. All right. So he allegedly fell asleep after eating a meal at the steakhouse in Houston, and the employees moved him outside where he was propped up with his belongings and not discovered till the next morning. Dead. Because the staff thought he was homeless, they didn't call 911 for assistance, instead removing the man themselves. 34-year-old who lived with an aunt was pronounced dead by first responders outside in the strip mall. She was disgusted, the aunt, claiming the staff's actions led to her nephew's death. No cause of death has been revealed, so I'm still waiting. Again, we don't know why he died. Mobley's parents, who have now lost 3 children over the last 13 years. Pretty terrible. We just think if someone had gotten him some help instead of putting him on the sidewalk, call 911. If nothing else, if you don't know what's wrong with someone, you shouldn't assume. That's reasonable. Okay, so yeah, so now let me read you. So here's the thing. Should they have called 911? I mean, someone is like, and if you eat your food and they're like, and you can't wake them up, you might want to call 911. I'm just saying, I don't think they made the right decision. However, I want you They stated after eating, he fell asleep at the table and was unresponsive. They thought he was a homeless person, so they put him outside with his belongings and sat him down. Now, but I want to read you another bit about him. Where'd it go? No, I lost it. Okay, maybe this one. Diner collapses. He was 35 years old. All right. Let's look at a picture of him. All right. Looks like a nice fellow, clean shirt. All right. Is that what the people in the restaurant saw? And I'm not saying they just shouldn't have called 911. I think they should have called 911. My thought to me, though, is why would they put him outside on the sidewalk? I mean, if I were sitting there eating, I don't think they put me out on the sidewalk. They would have called 911. So what led them to do that? Well, I want to look back on what situation he was with. Now they're saying he lived with his aunt. Okay, just because you're 35 and live with your aunt doesn't mean you're a bum. You know what I mean? You can live with a relative. These days, with the economy the way it is, a lot of people are struggling, and they live with a relative. There's nothing wrong with that. It says here, let's see, he had his birth mother, because his dad and his stepmother, the ones mourning him. His birth mother had HIV, which meant he'd had it all his life. He was born with HIV. Which is a heck of a thing to have to deal with, although at least the treatment is better these days. For Mobley, who died at the same age of his mom, it's been a hard illness to carry, especially with a negative stigma surrounding the condition. His loved ones say he dreamed of having a wife and kids, but because of his medical history, he thought it wasn't going to happen. Mobley was on medication that made the virus indetectable in his blood and untransmissible, but still it was hard for him to get past what many think of HIV. Let me tell you, it's come a long way since the days when I was working as an interpreter in the hospital. I interpreted for people with HIV, with AIDS, and people who died of AIDS. And it was brutal and terrible, and they've come a long way. So he actually was fortunate that he was able to get that kind of treatment. Just before his death, Mobley was diagnosed with bipolar disorder as an adult and was doing very well. He thought he could find someone lately. He wanted to make some changes, be more responsible. So now, hearing that last bit that I said, what are your thoughts? This is a good question. Did he seem drunk? Oh, no. Okay, no, wait, be careful, Cindy. He didn't look homeless. You're looking at a photo from probably 10 years ago. This is one of the tricks that happens where people then believe what they see. That's a photo the family gave him. That's not what he looked like in the restaurant. Now, I don't know what he looked like in the restaurant. That's the problem. And this is where I say, if you're looking at evidence, don't look at stuff that isn't meaningful. What he looked like at some point in time is not what he looked like when he was in the restaurant. So was he eating alone? Okay, this is a good question. So if you're going to do an investigation on this whole thing, this would be a good question. I don't know what the circumstances are about him, what food he was eating. One, it appears to have been eating alone. That I think is true. The restaurant people said they often give food to homeless people, free food. Did they give him free food or did he pay for the meal? I would like to know that. I don't know exactly what time this all happened, under what circumstances. Like sometimes you're getting close to closing time, you got this extra food lying around. You're like, okay, dude, here, you're homeless, take this food. I don't know whether he paid or he didn't pay. Whether the reason they thought he was homeless was because they gave him free food. This is what they're leaving out of the whole discussion. Did he have any money on him when they found? No. Did he have any money? What did he look like when he was in the restaurant? Why did his belongings were with him? Dudes do not usually carry belongings with them. I'm going to say they don't. They don't usually have a purse. They might have if you're briefcase, if you're in business. Guys don't usually carry crap with them. If he has belongings with him, what belongings are they? Are they the kind of belongings you see with a homeless person? Just because he was living with his aunt didn't mean he was really living with his aunt. So we don't know if he was drunk. And one of the reasons they thought he was just out of it was because, let's say, for example, that's why I'm not trying to protect the restaurant here or saying they were right. I'm just saying what we see in the media is not necessarily what actually happened. Let's say you're working in a restaurant, serving food, it's getting late. The guy comes in, he's clearly homeless, he smells bad, but there's nobody left in the restaurant, the place and empty, and he smells bad, he smells like he's been drinking. He says, "You don't have food for me?" And they go, "Hey, dude, sit down, we'll give you something to eat." They give him some food. He eats some of the food, and then they go over there, and he's like, and they're like, he just crashed out, he's just crashed out. He drank too much. So what do they do with this guy? So they think he's homeless. So they just pick him up and they put him outside. Whether it's the right thing to do or not, I think there's probably a bigger story about why they made the decision they made, wrong though it may have been. What the people are trying to present in these articles is that this is a well-groomed fellow who went in to buy a dinner and had with him a tiny little bag. And when he fell out during the dinner, they just decided he was homeless for no reason whatsoever. Now, you notice one thing the family doesn't say, that he has a job. And he just got diagnosed as bipolar. So he's got mental issues. I don't think he has a job, or they would have said that. Mental issues, doesn't have a job, lived with his aunt maybe sometime, had too many objects with him that would make him look homeless. And there must have been something else that indicated to them he was probably homeless. And he probably was homeless. But this is the, it isn't a cheap restaurant, that's true. But maybe they did try to do some good things for the community. I don't know what area we're in Houston, but they might have always tried to take leftover food and give it to the homeless. Maybe they were trying to do good things. This is what I was trying to get at, Christoph, and I think it's correct. The decision was wrong, yes, but the overall circumstances may have contributed to the misconduct. I agree with that. But what frustrates me is when you see the media come out and say this stuff. Again, people get very emotional. I've looked at all the commentary, and everybody's like, "They killed this guy. They killed him. They were horrible people." Now, first of all, we don't know why he died. It didn't appear that he choked to death, so I don't know why he died. And the autopsy hasn't come back in yet. But the family is the problem is you're getting very questionable information from the family. They're treading very carefully on. Oh, it just got diagnosed bipolar. So he's mental issues. Probably should be in some kind of care someplace. But he's wandering on the streets, in my opinion. And so probably he was actually homeless. Probably he did have they believed that he was. And maybe they even, the other thing that they don't talk about, which I don't know whether the employees have been told to shut the hell up. We got a lawsuit issue here. But they may have seen this guy sitting outside with his belongings for the last 3 days, for all we know. You know what I mean? And they know he's homeless. And since he's always been outside, they're just taking him, putting him back to his home, and thinking he'll just sleep it off because they didn't think anything was wrong with him. So I don't know that I don't have that kind of anger toward the employees of the restaurant. I think maybe I should have made a better decision. But the media is pushing this whole thing, and the family's pushing this whole thing that there was no reason on God's earth why they should ever have assumed he was homeless and put him outside. And this is the problem with so many cases that we deal with, is that the media just gives us this piece of it and we don't get all the rest of it. And therefore, we run on emotions, and defense teams and lawsuits and all these lawyers depend on that, because this spreads like wildfire through the media and becomes a mess, So that's true. That is spectacular. It just sells well. Now, speaking of a spectacular case, I think it's gotten way too little things. This is really horrific. This is just an ungodly case. Also in Texas, by the way. This is where is this guy? This poor guy. Oh my God. He's from India. He's from Andhra Pradesh, which happened to have been in Andhra Pradesh in India. Just stance. I mean, Andhra Pradesh is a big area, includes Hyderabad, India, and South India. I like the area; it's very nice. Anyway, Indian beheaded in U.S. Andhra Pradesh native, I can't pronounce the guy's name, Mallaiah, planned to visit India in October to meet parents. So this is Chandra. I'll just use his first name because it's easier. Chandra is on the left. This killer is on the right. Chandra was killed in a gruesome beheading attack by a co-worker in the USA on Wednesday. He says here he moved to Dallas about 5 years ago. Since then, he'd been working as a motel manager. And he took the motel on lease from an NRA from Gujarat. So he's trying to, earn his living legally, by the way. The attack came as a shock to family and friends. They said he was a very sweet guy. Anyway, I'm going to go to the rest of the story here. Another site. Where is it? Hold on a second. This is what gets real interesting. This guy that killed him, by the way, it was an argument over. He was working for the Indian fellow. His name is Jordanes Cobos Martinez. He's from Cuba and illegally in the United States. I believe that Chandra was legally in the United States. So Chandra's here earning a living. He has a wife and son. This guy on the right gets angry with him over some bullcrap and goes and gets a machete and chases him with a machete and starts whacking at his neck. And he gets near his wife. He gets near in the office. I think he's trying to get his wife and son to call the police. And he kills Chandra in front of his wife and son and literally cuts his head off with a machete, chops his head off. And then he carries it into the street, kicks it down the street like a soccer ball, and throws it in a dumpster. Hit the head of the man. Nice guy. Nice guy. Now, what's the problem here? All right, let me read you his criminal record. This is where it's just frustrating as heck. Okay, so here's a guy, Chandra, comes to the United States illegally, has a wife and child, working, doing, living a good life. And one of the things I want to point out is that when men don't have families, they become dangerous people. In the sense that one of the things family does is ground men, wives and children. Not always. Don't take me of that, but we have problems with them. When we're talking about gangs, for example, a lot of people who join gangs is because they just don't have a good family life, and they're looking to have a family, and that new family is going to be the gang. A lot of times the people leave their countries and come to someplace else, and they don't come with a family. They're a male that's alone, and they don't have the controls that society finds useful for men, which is family. So that they have people saying you can't do that. They have to act better because they're part of a family, part of a community. But when they're on their own, unfortunately, not all, of course, some guy will come in and say, I've always been on my own and I'm a great guy. Yeah, you are. But it's just psychologically not a healthy thing. So when you have a lot of men alone who do not see a great future, they may not have the ability to behave well, shall we say. So this guy, Cobos Martinez, had a criminal record in California, Texas, and Florida. He was born in Cuba in 1988. He illegally migrated to the United States, eventually settling in Texas. Again, please do not be political here. Do not start doing politics about legal immigration, illegal immigration, blah, blah, blah. I don't go there or here. I'm only pointing out how he got here and what our system, which is our criminal system, doesn't take seriously enough. He ended up working at the motel. He had a criminal record in California. Let's see, when did he get here? It doesn't say when he got here. He had a criminal record in California, Texas, and Florida, having been charged in February of 2017 for stealing a Mercedes-Benz in Miami-Dade County, Florida, and in June for carjacking a woman while naked in South Lake Tahoe, California. He was charged. So he was charged for stealing a Mercedes-Benz in 2017 in February. Why was he in California in June of 2017? Carjacking a woman, naked. Not the woman wasn't naked. He was naked. So, I mean, this guy's got mental issues, right? And then it says, so you would think that if he carjacked a woman naked, he'd either be in a mental institution for 10 years, deported, or in jail, in prison, right? But no, the next year in 2018, he fled California and resided in Texas for a short while before moving back to Florida. During those 2 stays, he was charged with an act of indecency in Houston and an assault on a child in Florida. So apparently did go to prison. He was charged, but I don't see they went to prison. In 2023, he was convicted of the carjacking. 2023? It took them, 6 years to charge him with the carjacking of the woman? I don't even understand this. And was sentenced to a year and a half. He was released on January 13th of 2025 with deportation back to Cuba attempted. However, he was denied entry into Cuba due to his criminal history. So he was then put under supervision. Get out of here. Seriously. So Cuba's like, yeah, we don't want that dude back. You keep him. And our method of keeping him is to release him onto the streets and let him cut somebody's head off. Cuba's smarter than we are. He was a busy guy. Oh my God. Unbelievable. Just crazy. And we're having a problem right now. Speaking of that, I think this is this is a jewelry store theft. 25 guys go into a jewelry store, break into a jewelry store, and steal $1 million worth of stuff. This is California. $1 million worth of stuff. They caught a few of the guys. They haven't said who the guys are yet. But I'm going to say this. Does anybody understand these criminal gangs? And does anybody have an idea who the criminal gang might be? Yeah, that's horrifying. The wife and son witnessed this man cutting his head off. It's just horrible. It's sickening. Absolutely sickening. So these guys, I'm making a wild guess here of who these guys are. Because there is kind of a well-known gang that I think is probably responsible for this. The minute I saw this, I said, I think. Now, I don't know that's for true yet. I'm waiting for I'm not going to get all emotional. What? Cops? No. No. Not cops. No. This is an escalating problem right now. Yeah, you never know. Yeah, I don't think there's 25 cops out there that want to rob a jewelry store, but hey, the watch collectors gang. Come on now. Oh my God. You people are making me laugh. But somebody come up with it. Big old gang. Big old gang. Well, there you go. I mean, organized looting. Yes, it is organized. And I'm a good open-minded profiler. Well, good for you. A big old gang. Yeah. I mean, don't put a name on it. Just go big old gang. But the first thought that came to me, and we're going to see if I'm right or wrong, was, and I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly. No, it's not. No. No, not at all. Not the El Salvadorians. No. No. The Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua. They are a Venezuelan transnational criminal organization known for engaging in a wide range of violent crimes, including robbery, expanded into the United States. They conduct the robberies in a brutal way. And by the way, it's MS-13. I know you probably just mistyped. It's MS-13, but not MS-13. This is a new thing that's been happening. They have expanded in the United States. Robbery is a core part of their criminal activity, often conducted with brutal and organized tactics. Number one place they target is jewelry stores. And I did not know this before. I immediately thought this is the group because I've heard about the problems with these very organized robberies of homes and other things. And I'm thinking, well, jewelry store makes sense. In one high-profile incident, members were linked to the Denver jewelry store heist in 2024. Surveillance footage showed the men pretending to be customers before launching a brutal attack, pistol whipping female employees. But they do organized retail theft. They target expensive goods. They use scooters in street robberies. And that's a very Venezuelan thing, by the way, where you got the one guy in the front who's the driver and the guy in the back is a guy with a gun. Residential robberies, violent tactics. Interesting. They have recruitment in shelters. Gang leaders have allegedly recruited new members from migrant shelters in the U.S. cities. Some recruits, like a man who shot the two new NYPD officers, admitted to being brought into the gang to commit robberies. You're not making any money. You don't have a job, and here comes these guys saying, "Join us." Yeah, and this is where I talk about men who do not have a stable life. When you don't have a stable life and no stable future or no hope for the future, you'll pretty much, some of them will just do anything. What the hell, I mean, I haven't got anything anyway. What are they going to do to me? So it becomes extremely, extremely dangerous. There's a whole bunch of people who have fled. I mean, the problem with certain countries, because the U.S. borders have been kind of porous, shall we say. If you're a criminal in those countries and you're not making enough money, and you think you got an opportunity to go north and make more money, I mean, yeah, why not? So the problem is when you don't have much to lose, you're willing to risk things way past what you should be willing to risk. The person has a stable life. They don't want to risk stuff. They don't want one bad thing to mess up their entire lives. So when you look at gangs in the city, young teens and gangs in the city, it's usually because they don't see life past age 30. They don't. They think that they're going to be dead by age 30. Why? Because they can't think of getting a good job. They don't see this bright future. Maybe daddy's in jail. Maybe mom's a cook. Maybe she's on crack. Who knows? Well, whatever the issue is, they don't see life going very far. But they do watch videos, and the videos have people with guns and cash and weed and all that kind of stuff. And they say to themselves, if I'm going to not have a decent life, if I'm not going to get a good job, have the family and the nice house and all that stuff, I might as well get what I can get. And yes, is there an issue with personality disorder? Absolutely, because they've been growing up in a situation where they've lost empathy and all kinds of things. So one of the things you want more than anything else in any country is to have good families, good communities. Same thing in any, our countries and every place in this country that I live in. I want good families and good communities. I want that in every country because that's what keeps crime under control way more than trying to arrest everybody and put them in prison. I mean, because that gets difficult, as you can see, because you got this fellow chopping people's heads off. Why? Because they couldn't put him away for long enough. So interesting, sad, really, really sad. That could be. I'm not really familiar with what Venezuela's doing at the moment, but we're pretty shabby with trying to do much because, and again, what the Cuban do is they released him and released him and released him. And it's like Cuba's like, yeah, we're not doing that down here. So I don't know what your problem is up there. But the guy's done these things and shouldn't put him in prison for 10 years. But the judges let him out and, all that kind of stuff. So we have a problem. And, but, there's these stores getting robbed like this. I mean, puts people out of business. And then, it's just a real shame. And that's why I'm always for good family, good community. You gotta build that no matter where you live. I don't care if you're poor, middle class, rich, whatever. Every one of those, you got to have family and community. And sad. It's just very sad. So, but that was just an interesting case I rolled through. I did want to mention, I was going to do this at the beginning of the show, but somehow I got somehow ended up someplace else. I wanted to mention this fella. Oh my God. This is David Anthony Burke, also known as D4VD. I think that's supposed to be. I looked at a D4VD. I'm like, is that venereal disease? But I think that's supposed to be David. The 4 is supposed to be an A, so it's David with a 4. I just learned that. So anyway, he is. If you remember this story, this girl was found in his Tesla. His Tesla was found abandoned, and it was taken away to a lot. And then they smelled this smell from the Tesla, and they found this girl's body in his trunk. And he didn't seem to report the Tesla missing, which seems to be the problem. But he is this musician. He did this song, "Romantic Homicide," which really isn't the thing you want to have as your major song, your big hit, before somebody ends up dead in your trunk. And then this picture, which I just saw, it's like, seriously, dude, perhaps again, not a good thing to have around when your people end up dead in the trunk of your car. This is what he looks like when he's not with blood around him. Much better there. But anyway, this girl, she was 13 when she was reported missing. And I don't know all the details, so I'm just going to tell you where it's kind of at now. Again, let's keep massive emotion out of it. He has canceled all his music tours. He has it's a mess. But anyway, her teacher spoke out. Her name is Celeste Rivas, and he says this: a man claiming, and I like the word claimed. If you can't prove something, just say claimed. To have taught Celeste Rivas when she was originally talking to, I'll call him David. All right. He claimed that Celeste and David began talking online before she ran away to Hollywood to be with him. Celeste was my student at Lakeland Village Middle School, and she told me she had met David online. She ran away to Hollywood to be with him once, and the police brought her back to school. Then she disappeared again in May of 2024. Celeste was missing again in early 2024, and they didn't know what happened to her. And so the theory kind of is at this point that somehow, and there's some other reasons that they think it might be true, that he did hook up with her, and they were a couple, and she was like 14, and now she's dead. So we're going to see how that all plays out, but yeah. Whew. Yeah. It does not sound too good for him. No. And, it's one of these things, again, where, I listened to his songs. He wasn't bad. I mean, sometimes, I'm always annoyed when I listen to something, and it might not be my music style or whatever, but I remember there's like this Maryland rapper, and he did all kinds of stupid stuff, and then he got shot. He got killed. And he was a young rapper and from Maryland. And I went and listened to his YouTube channel, and he was good. I'm like, oh my God. I don't like what he was singing about, which was drugs, guns, and all that crap, money. But he was good. And I always think, here you've got talent. I mean, a lot of people don't have that kind of talent. And you've got this talent, and you've got this chance. Let's talk about chance in life. Chance in life to be somebody. And it's hard to break in the music industry, but you've actually, I looked at how many people were watching his stuff, and it was pretty darn good. And this David with a 4 in it wasn't doing badly. As a matter of fact, well, of course, now if I look at the song that he's famous for, everybody's watching it now because they think he killed somebody. So that probably skyrocketed that song. Maybe the whoever put out the music is making money off of it. I don't know, but but very, very sad. Martina says, I guess they feel special that they have no motor in the front or something. It's just sad. It's super, super sad that you have talent. You have talent, but along with that talent, you have a personality disorder, which destroys, in other words, talent can't override personality disorder. And I think that's the problem. You'd be better off to be a regular person without a personality disorder and work hard to achieve something. And but yeah, so it's a sad thing. I mean, it really is. But well, I don't know what's happening with that case at this point. They did find. Oh, by the way, speaking of this, Travis, who allegedly killed his 3 daughters. Well, it's not really alleged. He did. Anyway, they said he was declared dead, but they actually have no proof it was him yet. So this is one of these just interesting things that, again, is it likely him? Absolutely. They found his body. They declared Travis Decker, the 32-year-old father accused of allegedly killing his 3 daughters this summer, to be dead. They advised that he is deceased, and he was wanted for 3 counts of first-degree murder of his 3 beautiful children, his daughters. It's horrifying. And they found, where did they find his body at? They're waiting still on DNA testing to confirm whether the remains are his. So maybe they jumped the gun. They should not have said that they found him dead until they had proof. But so basically they found him in Leavenworth, Washington, when a drone carrying out a search found an anomaly, which was later discovered to be a shirt consistent with what Decker had been wearing around the time of the killings. And then there was and then they also found chewing tobacco, U.S. Ranger shorts, and a bracelet, which all were kind of things he had. And so theoretically, he died way long ago. Remember when people were like searching for him? I said, well, probably the issue really is that he went to some little location and killed himself, and you can search all you want, but unless you hit that one spot, he's not alive and running around. That's why you can't find him. So finally, the body that has not yet absolutely been identified as his has been found. Now, is it his body? Well, you could say maybe he's really clever, you see, and he kidnapped another man who was similar to him, and he killed him, left his body there, and changed clothes with him, and left these items next to him. So it's not actually him, and he's off, actually snuck away. Is that probably true? No. But because they have not absolutely identified the body, they should not have jumped the gun. They should have said, we have remains that may be his remains because they are next to things that he was wearing at the time that he disappeared. And then wait. But so just so yeah, the search appears to be over. Yeah, it does. Thank God. I mean, I figured he was dead. I mean, if you killed 3 of your kids, I mean, even if you're good at hiding away and, you're good at being out in the wild and all that stuff. I mean, people have gotten away with getting away with it, you know what I mean? And hiding out for a really long time. I kind of figured he was probably just going to off himself somewhere along the way. And he did. So that's the end of him. I want to point out one more thing about the Madeleine McCann thing. This to me is just... This now that Bruckner is running around free, essentially, there's a story that came out about Bruckner saying, let's see what he's saying. I can end the scandal of the century, reveals freed Madeleine McCann suspect. Also from the great channel GBI, which I'm pretty much sure is a piece of garbage channel. But anyway, a shopkeeper spoke to pedophile Bruckner, said he knows far more than what he told the police. The prime suspect has said he holds information that could solve the scandal of the century. He made a bizarre comment in a phone shop just days after he was released. Bruckner boasted to shop workers that he could crack one of the greatest mysteries ever and showed off his electric ankle tag as he looked to buy a new phone. He said he won't last long because people want him dead. Let's see what else he said. Oh, the shop manager said, Bruckner told me he had some information. I don't know if it's the McCann case, but he had evidence that could bring the scandal of the century to the end. He said he would end all the accusations against him, well, which would be the Madeleine McCann case. He said he can bring his own solution. He said something about USB sticks. The way he said it, he must have been talking about Madeleine McCann. What could he be? What else could he be talking about? True. Okay. Biggest problem here is what? Somebody tell me what the biggest problem with his claim he's going to solve the biggest case of the century. What's the biggest problem here? Oh, profilers. Well, there's a good point, Cauliflower. Yes, criminals generally blab to random shopkeepers. Well, that's a problem for the case in general. But what about what he's saying or supposedly saying? What's the one thing we know about Christian Bruckner over anything else? Two things about him. Yeah, there we go. He's not credible. Absolutely not credible. He wants attention, for sure. Because he's what? Why does he want attention? What is he? Come on, somebody come up with a P word. P word. P word. The P word. I'm wondering what's the P up. Yeah, she got the P. Psychopath. He's a psychopath. And he's a narcissist, for sure. He's a psycho. And he is also a pathological liar. The problem with psychopaths, that they are pathological liars. So all the people that said Bruckner told him these things that, he knew that Madeleine didn't scream or whatever they said. There's two problems. I want to point out the two problems. So Bruckner says something to some friend that he's done criminal acts with. The friend says, Bruckner said, Madeleine didn't scream and I did something to her, whatever he says. What's the problem with both sides of this equation? He's a fool. Well, that maybe or maybe not. What's the problem with both sides of the equation? Not so much the shopkeeper, but all the other people have said these things about Christian Bruckner. There you go. Very good. Both are not reliable. It is hearsay, but both are not reliable because chances are we know Bruckner's a psychopath and he's a pathological liar. But yes, what kind of friends does he keep? Other psychopathic friends and pathological liars. So that's the problem with this kind of stuff. When all these friends came out and said, oh, he said this and whatever, you're like, they're probably seeking attention. You can't believe them. That's why all the stuff that's ever been said about, he said this and he said that, it was all nonsense. So, and now he's out there blabbing to some shopkeeper, oh, I can do this. He's probably he's pulling people's legs and having a good time. So, yeah, you can't believe anything he says. So, but of course, the media has to make something of this is very annoying. Now, I want to go to this case because I said I would do it, so I want to do it. Okay, so somebody brought this to my attention in the Patron chat, which some people can't seem to access. I just email me about that. Timothy Wiltsey. So this child went missing and was eventually found dead. His mother was charged with the crime, but many years later, because she looks like that now. Okay, so the reason I find this very interesting is, this will be the last thing I do because it's quite late. All right, where is it? Killing of Timothy Wiltsey. All right, so he was a 5-year-old boy, and he went missing. He was from South Amboy, New Jersey. His mother was Michelle Lodzinski. She was a single mother who basically told the father of the boy to stay away. She didn't want him hanging around. Why is that? Parental alienation or because the guy was a creep? I don't know. But she told police that he went missing from a carnival in nearby something like Sayreville. All right, this is 1991. Police searched the park where the carnival had been held and failed to locate the boy. Almost 11 months later, his remains were discovered across the Raritan River in the marshlands of nearby Edison, near an office park where Lodzinski had once worked. Okay, so she says the kid went missing. His body is found 11 months later near where she worked. All right. Now, here's what gets interesting. Due to changes in her account of how her son disappeared within a month of the disappearance and her unemotional demeanor on the few occasions she spoke publicly about the case, she began to be seen as a suspect. The perception intensified later in the decade when she was convicted of staging. Oh, let me get to that a little bit. I want to get to the point of where what she claimed happened when he disappeared. All right. The carnival was immediately shut down. They all went searching for him. She claimed originally, she said she lost sight of him when she left him waiting in a carnival ride line as she went to buy a soda. So the first story she gave was he was in the ride line. She went and get a soda and was coming back. And when she got back, he was not there. That's a good story. However, she changed the story. She then said, where's the other part here? The inconsistent accounts. Okay. One witness in the place said they saw her and she didn't have a child with her when they saw her. This was prior to her reporting the kid missing. So there was a child missing, but there was no child ever seen prior to that moment. So then she claimed, after she claimed that he disappeared out of the line, that she went to get the drink and she came back and he was just gone. Then she claimed a week later that two men with a knife had taken her son and intimidated her into silence. Pressed her for further details, she walked out. So, okay, that's her second story. The two men with a knife took her child and threatened her. The third story, she returned the following day. I guess she went home and said, that story isn't good enough. So she went home. She went back to the police and she said, two men and a woman had taken her son after offering to watch him briefly while she got the sodas so he could keep his place in line. She claimed to have known the woman as Ellen, a local go-go dancer and a customer of the bank where she previously worked as a teller. FBI was unable to locate this woman. So she's told three different stories. Now, I'm pretty sure that if your child goes missing, only one story is the truth. If you come up with three different stories on how your child went missing, obviously you're lying. There's just no way that you could possibly have these three different stories. Your child has been kidnapped. This is what happened. She should have stuck with, I like the first story. She should have stuck with that because that is how kids can disappear. You leave your child alone, 5 years old, you're thinking, oh, this one made sense. Kids in line to go on whatever thing. She's just going to run and get the soda. I'm not saying she should have left him, but still, he's 5. He can stand in line. She goes to get soda. She comes back and she's like, where is he? Somebody could have come up and snatched him away. That is the best story. The two guys with the knives in the middle of the carnival threatening her makes no sense. And then three people want to watch her kid for her, and she knows who they are. But she comes back and they steal her kid, and she can't identify them, actually. So just dumb as shit. The Casey Anthony story about the daughter and the babysitter. Yeah. So anyway, to go on with the story. So she gets, so let me go back to hold on a second. Hold on a second, one more. Where'd it go? Okay. Seven things you didn't know about the case. All right. So now the reason she got eventually convicted is first of all, obviously her demeanor was she didn't seem to care that her child had gone missing. She said, well, I don't have to cry for the cameras, I don't have to do that. And the reason I'm talking about this is on Sunday I just did that case about the woman who may have killed her two children. So that's why I'm talking about this one. Somebody brought this to my attention. One, there was a blanket. The kid was found on a blanket. The mother and the grandmother said they didn't recognize the blanket, but the niece who would babysit Timothy said she immediately saw the blanket and knew that was the blanket that was in the house. However, there was no forensic evidence connecting it to the mother. So that's the problem. There were some hairs on that didn't come from the mother. So it could have been anybody who visited the house, or the blanket wasn't hers. And, so that the blanket thing became an issue, which is, could go either way. And it wasn't solid. So that was a problem. They talk about her changing stories. That was a big deal. Job never acknowledged. When authorities asked the mother to list her places of employment, she failed to say she worked in a business that was at the Raritan Center, which was 4/10 of a mile from where the son's remains were found. She left that one out of the list, which is interesting. They looked at her financial records and wondered if she sold the child into adoption. They never found anything, and rarely does that actually happen. A sneaker. He disappeared wearing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sneakers. They found one of the sneakers near that center. I turned it over to the police. She said she didn't recognize it, but that's where her son's body was. So she didn't recognize the shoe that she said her kid was wearing. Cause of death, they never established it because it took 11 months to find him. The fake, this gets interesting. A fake abduction. Days before she was expected to be served with a subpoena in a case involving a Union County police officer who had illegally looked up a license plate of investigators following her, she disappeared, showing up the next day in Detroit, claiming she had been abducted by two men claiming to be FBI agents. Later admitted that it was all a hoax. So she Munchausen's. I was kidnapped when she wasn't kidnapped. Interesting. And so what happened was she got convicted eventually, but it took them I think it was 20 years. But here's what I want to point out. Do I think she killed her kid? Yes. I don't see any. Her stories, and this one of the claims is the reason that she was let go was that, I'll tell you why in a minute. Okay, so hold on a second. Okay, here we go. The arrest. She got arrested in 2014, which was 20 some years later. Following a sealed indictment by a grand jury, she was arrested. Okay. And then what happened with the case? She was convicted by a jury, first-degree murder, and then she appealed it, of course, because our appeal process is long and expensive as hell and cost us taxpayers a fortune. But anyway, she began serving a sentence, but she appealed and wanted she was upset about the judge's refusal to have a mistrial. Something about the jury foreman, so he was dumped, and so she said there should have been a mistrial. Anyway, a 3-judge panel ruled against her on all issues in 2019. Then she appealed to the Supreme Court of New Jersey, where an unusually complicated process ensued after it heard arguments late in 2020. After the court's Chief Justice Stuart Robner recused himself from the hearing, the remaining 6 justices agreed that the appeals court had applied a standard review that was too narrow, blah, blah, blah. She petitioned for a rehearing, blah, blah, blah. And she finally it went to the appellate, I can't even pronounce that, appellate division. That's in 2019. Okay. Don't get too bored here, but I just want to tell you why I think this is so weird. 4 months later, they unanimously upheld both trial court rulings. The panel first considered the sufficiency of the evidence under the standard that it must be evaluated in the light most favorable to the state. That the evidence, the jury had to look at the evidence and they have to deem it rational to be more likely true than not, even if reasonable doubt still existed. Conceding that defense evidence was substantial in many ways directly rebutted the state's proofs. So they're saying that the prosecution failed to prove she had caused Wiltsey's death purposely and knowingly, as the state required for a murder conviction. And then they're saying that the jury reasonably inferred that the concealment of Wiltsey's body indicated his death had been deliberately caused, okay? And that she was the last person to be seen with him, and her inconsistent statements were basic admission that she did something to him. However, it ends up going to the state Supreme Court. And it was claimed that the appellate court had improperly limited its reviews of the evidence to the prosecution case when considering the reasonableness of the conviction. So in other words, when you're a jury, they can determine whether you were reasonable in your conviction. What's the point of a jury then? I mean, isn't the jury supposed to be the final word? No, it isn't really. They can actually say the jury was wrong, which I've been pointing out all along. All right, so then they deadlocked on the first decision. And then they did another thing. And then there was dissent. And then there was another petition. I'm going through the Wikipedia page. It's like forever long. And then the second decision was re-argued in 2021, and the murder conviction was vacated. She cannot be retried for the crime. They said that they thought, remember, this is like 700 times later, that the evidence was not sufficient for a reasonable jury to have convicted, although the jury did think it was reasonable enough. And so they convicted. But they're saying the jury did not have evidence that was reasonable enough. What? Okay, so anyway, I want to show you the main guy that got this done. And this is him. His name is Justice Albin. He's the past president of the New Jersey Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. He's a defense attorney. His whole life has been about defense attorney. So he's on this thing determining that prosecution didn't provide enough evidence that the jury should have found it reasonable. What? That's our system. That's insane. It's absolutely insane. Oh, she did. She got married. She got married and have a couple more kids. She did. Ah, yes. But this is what I talk. People don't understand that what's the point of the jury? I don't know. What I've always pointed, this is an interesting case of that. A lot of times when people get found, when they get released from prison and are exonerated, they're guilty as hell, but they're exonerated on technicalities. This was not actually a technicality. They were actually saying the prosecution case wasn't strong enough so that the jury should not have found her guilty. Then what is the point of the jury system? So, I mean, yeah, it's a nonsense. I mean, it's absolute nonsense. And do I think they should have found her guilty? Yes. And the circumstantial evidence was extremely strong in that her statements about how he disappeared, those three statements, I cannot find anybody who was innocent, who kid was really kidnapped, would come up with three different stories about how he disappeared. And then, I don't know every single other piece of evidence that they put together, but that was the strongest part of the case, was the fact that she changed her story 3 times. And I think a jury had the right to find her guilty. I do. But it was just like, what a weird thing. It's just so weird. So anyway, that brings me to 5 o'clock. And so I was going to get to Lucy Lepke today and some stuff on that, but I didn't get to it. It was a really great article. I'll have to bring that up next week when UK is sleeping and not coming to the hangout. But I do want to mention that next week because it's kind of fascinating to me. And so there was lots of interesting stuff. I mean, sometimes you just wonder what kind of world you're living in, and try to keep a sense of humor. He's not here yet tonight. Mac's around. He's around. He's doing his normal Mac thing. So he's around. He's getting his food every day. So don't worry about Mac. He's got me on his leash. He's got the leash, not me. So anyway, I'm glad you're all here again. If you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. Join Patreon, and I'm glad you're only getting one message now. Thank God. That was so annoying. And thank you very much, Christoph. Glad you were here. I don't know what happened to Benny. Benny vanished on me. Benny vanished. I want to chat with Benny. He's always got some really good thoughts. I think I accidentally said UK instead of Denmark. So anyway. But anyway, I'm going to go eat my lunch now. And I'm hopefully my cold will be gone in the next day or two. It'll disappear because it's very boring to stay home because I just don't want to poison people. So, outside of the people I did the documentary for, but I was making money. I wasn't going to not show up. But, I've been staying away from everybody else just because people say, did you take the COVID test? I'm like, nah. Once upon a time, we would have called this a cold. But people get pretty paranoid these days. So I've been just kind of hibernating here, and it's just getting really bored. So I want to get out. I want to be free. So lunch. Did I say lunch? No, I do mean dinner, but I hope so too. It's not, I'm not feeling that badly. It's just, I got that cough that, the lingering thing. So anyway, glad you are all here. Yes, I just sound worse than I am. So anyway, I will see you this Sunday for the case show. And you all have a good rest of the week. And yeah, some of the stuff is crazy out there. I swear it is. It's just, sometimes I just have to shake my head because I just don't get it all. It's like, what? But anyway, that's the world we live in. So anyway, thank you for being here, and I will see you soon.